Okay, well, welcome. That doesn't mean others are old, okay? Although they might be, okay? But welcome back. Just so you know that originally this was going to be a 6-week series, but as I was saying, I'll be gone next week, and the week after is Light of Pride for the temple. So we're going to take a 2-week break, and then beginning July 24th, I'm going to do another 4-week series based on what Bettina was teaching in the last 13 weeks. Some of you were probably here for the Brahma Viharas. But like what I've been doing in these classes, we're going to do a modern twist on it. We're going to use Unified Mindfulness techniques and some of the science and use the practices to develop what's called Brahma Viharas, which are really the original teachings of the Buddha, the Brahma Vihara in Pali means the divine abodes, or it's the way to be in the world. And the 4 ways to be in the world that the Buddha taught were loving kindness, in Pali it's metta, compassion, sympathetic joy, which is really the joy we feel when someone else succeeds. And then the last one is what we've been practicing in here with the skill, it's equanimity. So what I'm going to do in these 4 weeks beginning July 24th is bring a more modern twist to developing those practices and qualities. And in a way, we're going to do it tonight. Because what tonight's about is that the title I gave it was Nurturing Positivity, Mindfulness of Thoughts and Emotions. Okay? Since there are new people, I'll do a quick review by way of maybe a little test. Okay, see if you remember what the last 5 weeks have been about. So what have I suggested to you as the goal of practice? Anybody remember? Why do we do this meditation or mindfulness stuff?
Be happier and healthier.
Be happier and healthier, yeah. The Buddha, when asked, said, I teach suffering and the relief of suffering. But as I was suggesting, given what we now know about human development and human rights, we have a broader vision of what it means to be a whole human being. And so what I would suggest to you is we do these practices to have comprehensive well-being. It's not just about sitting and meditating with our eyes closed. The joke is that if it was just about sitting and being present, then chickens would be enlightened, right? Because they just sit. So it means that we practice in order to have a full human life. So that's the goal. What are the 3 sense objects that we use? Yep, see, hear, feel. So in this modern form of practice, we've expanded beyond the sense object of the breath. And that's good, that's feel. And if that works for you, keep doing it. That is traditionally how we've practiced. But when we expand to all the senses, including thoughts and emotions, we have a full realm of practice that we can do when we're sitting and in the world, by way of what we're doing every day. So the see, hear, feel are the sense objects that we work with. And then, do you remember what the 3 mindfulness skills are? What's the first one?
Concentration.
Concentration. And it's simply, the definition is that it's the ability to choose what to pay attention to. And that is a huge skill in a world that is constantly pulling our attention, especially social media and the busyness of our lives. So as we develop the skill of concentration. We can choose how we want to experience life. Because, what we pay attention to is what we experience. That's just a psychological fact. What's the second one?
Clarity.
Clarity, right. And clarity is just being able to track our sense experience. And we use clarity when we go to a concert or go to a museum or eat a wonderful meal. Clarity is that ability to really be aware of what we're experiencing, the senses that we're experiencing. And we can develop that as a skill. And what's the third skill? Equanimity. And equanimity, and some, teachers and researchers believe or will maintain that equanimity is the secret sauce of mindfulness. And the definition that we use in Unified Mindfulness is that it's the ability to not have to fight with our experience. We don't have to push away what we're experiencing. So we can be fully open to the negative and the painful, as well as the positive and the rewarding. And we don't have to cling. So we don't have to push away our experience. And we don't have to cling to it. And if you think about it, when we're not fighting our experience and we're just really knowing what we're experiencing, there's a lot of peacefulness, even when things are tough. And we're going to really look at that tonight as a way to practice. So, what we're going to work with tonight is what we call the inner system. There's an outer system and an inner system. And, as I've said each week, don't believe a thing I say, okay? You don't have to believe anything here. You can practice and experience it for yourself, and then you can make up your mind. So the inner system is, and we can do it right now, you can actually experience it. The outer system is what you see in the world. So you can look at objects in this room, and we're seeing, right? You can hear sounds, lots of sounds, and we can feel sensations in the body. That's the outer system. The inner system, see, hear, feel, and let's experience it. And do this with your eyes open or closed. So, in your imagination, see your favorite food. And notice where it's showing up. We'll call that image space. And you can actually identify sort of a place. And you can actually maybe use your hand to point where you're experiencing it. Some people it's in the front. For me, for whatever reason, it's on the side, on my right side. Brains are a little different, but it's there. And so we can always be aware of visual thinking. Okay? So there's the C. Here, silently recite your phone number to yourself and notice where it shows up. And we'll call that talk space. And again, it has a place. There's a geography where talk space shows up. And again, you could use your hand to point to it so you can be aware of it. Talk space. So for me, it's right on my right also. For some people, it's between their ears. But you can whenever you go there, or in the back, whenever you're looking for, or you're sensing auditory thinking, chatter, which we do all day long, there is a space where it shows up. And then the last thing is bodily emotions. All emotions show up in the body. We may not be aware of that, but the more we train ourselves, the more emotionally intelligent we become. And we can actually identify what we're feeling based on what's showing up. And it does take some practice, but one simple way to experience it is, I've done this every week. Put that silly smile on your face, okay? And notice what it feels like when you smile. Usually you can feel it in your face, and then strong emotions like anger or sadness or fear, they really show up. And you can begin to identify where it shows up. Okay? So why is this important? Well, because when we can work with image space, talk space, and bodily emotions, we can begin to be aware of everything we experience that we call thoughts and emotions. And I would maintain that there's a certain amount of suffering that happens physically for us. I've got old knees, and and there's just inevitable pain. Pain, remember last time I talked about pain is inevitable in life. Every creature experiences pain, but suffering is optional. Suffering is optional. And tonight we're going to talk about why that is and how to work with it as well. Okay? So when we can be aware of what we're thinking and feeling emotionally, we have a way to identify a big part of our suffering. Mark Twain once said, I think I've quoted this before, he said, I've had a lot of troubles in my life, most of which have never happened. And when you look at your own experience, we catastrophize a lot. We all do, as human beings. And there's good reason. Sometimes Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, said, there are more things likely to frighten us than crush us. We suffer more often in imagination rather than in reality. So if you are aware of how much suffering we create for ourselves by not being aware of what we're thinking or feeling, and just allowing us to be victims of thoughts and emotions, then that really does cause suffering. And the good news is that we can learn skills to work with it. Because thoughts and emotions, check out your own experience. Thoughts and emotions just arise on their own. Thoughts just pop into our heads. You'll experience that tonight. Just notice, as we go along, you'll have a random thought. And if you look at it and say, where did that come from? Usually we don't know. Or an emotion can come up. So if that's true, that in a way, thoughts and emotions just arise out of the darkness, then if we don't have a way of relating to them with skill, we become the victims of our thoughts and emotions. And that's what the Buddha meant, although he didn't express it in the same way, because now we have cognitive science and neuroscience to explain it. What the Buddha meant was that, that the methods that we practice can help us make suffering optional. Not pain, but suffering. So tonight we're going to talk about a practice that's broader than traditional Buddhist Brahma Viharas, and we call it nurturing positivity. So instead of just the four qualities that the Buddha taught, which are certainly valid, and we practice them, we've expanded it through the use of cognitive science and neuroscience to be able to create positivity, not so that we can always feel positive. That's unrealistic. We live in a scary, complex, challenging world. And we need the skills to be able to identify the negative and to identify the positive and find a way to still live our lives in some kind of tranquility in the midst of it all. And that's what this practice holds out. So we're nurturing our positivity to create lives that are more fulfilling, back to that goal. So any questions or comments about that before I move on? And you know, I love objections. So if you have an objection, please raise it, because I began this practice with a lot of skepticism, okay? Many years, 50 years ago, I thought I wasn't looking for another religion, and I wasn't going to believe all the woo-woo stuff that was being talked about. But I found my way through this practice of testing it out and seeing if it made my life different. And it did, and therefore I kept it. Any comments or questions before? Yes?
So one of the things I heard you say is I have to look at the positive and you have to look at the negative. And for the vast majority of my life, I looked at it as a situation of hope for the best, but expect the worst.
Okay.
And it sort of sounds like that's somewhat aligning because you're sort of embracing the negative, but you're also hopeful for a positive outcome. So how do you reconcile that?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody here is, yeah. I mean, I think it's a great way to express it. You know, you can hope for the best, nurture positivity, but also be prepared or expect that there's going to be the negative. And the equanimity skill, again, we don't fight with that experience. We learn to be sort of in the center, being prepared. And we'll experience that tonight as we practice. So, does that make sense?
I hope so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, tell me at the end if it doesn't, okay? So we can talk about it. So we train, this is the key, and it's related to what you were talking about. We train our minds to create balance and have the freedom. Again, that concentration is the ability to choose what to pay attention to, but to create a balance. So we're not just pretending like there's no negatives. I mean, that would be foolish. We live in a complex, scary, difficult world. It's getting scarier in some ways and more complex. And there's a lot of things to be concerned about. Day by day, much less, politically, the world, there's lots of, we have a long list. So we need to be aware. On the other hand, if we get lost in that, then whatever time we've got left is going to be miserable. And so we have to find a way. We don't have to. We can find a way to balance with equanimity what we're experiencing. And that's really what nurturing positivity is about. So using the inner system of see, hear, feel, we're going to learn some skills about nurturing positivity to bring that into our lives. And, one great example of this, and this comes out of the cognitive science, is that great athletes do these practices. There's some YouTube videos of Phil Jackson. I'm a great Lakers fan. Any Celtics fan here? Okay. Phil Jackson, the great Lakers coach, he taught Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. He didn't teach LeBron James, but LeBron, they meditated every day. And Kobe was really articulate about what he would do. And again, it's what we're going to do tonight. He would spend some time in practice on the court, sitting and meditating, visualizing that basket that he was going to make. And he spent time doing that. And then when he went out to actually physically do it, there was a mental map, a mental muscle that more likely caused him to become the great player he was. And the latest in cognitive science suggests that visualization practice is maybe more powerful than actually going and shooting the basket. So that we can do the same thing. We can use visualization, again, see, hear, and feel. We can use those senses to create situations in our life that it's going to be more likely we will bring it into our daily lives than if we just went and did it. So again, a simple example, let's say you want to develop gratitude. You want to be more grateful because it makes you happy and makes other people happy. The practice can actually give you a boost to be more grateful than if you just were grateful. You did acts of gratitude. That's what the science is showing, and that's what we're going to do tonight as well. So this is all about applying nurturing positivity to our lives. So remember, I said last week that my teacher, Shinzen Young, what he says is that if the only way you know if your meditation is working is if you're behaving better and you're becoming a better human being. It's not about whether you're really good at sitting and meditating. That's the training. It's one of the trainings. But the ultimate goal is to change our lives. And that's how you'll know if your meditation is working. So, any questions before we actually practice? Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do it. Now, just to prepare, here's what we're going to do. Nurturing positivity opens up the whole realm of positivity. So again, it's not just loving kindness or compassion or sympathetic joy or even equanimity. Those are traditional, but it can be any positive experience or emotion that you want to create for your life. So, what we're going to do is we start with the inner system and we choose an image and a word or phrase to cultivate the emotion that we want to apply to our lives. So now let's think about, I'd ask each of you to think about what kind of positivity do you want to bring into your life? Think about that. And here's some examples. Do you want to be more patient in traffic? That's a big source of suffering. It's one of my Achilles heels, frankly. Do you want to be more patient in traffic? Do you want to feel more loving with the people in your life? Do you want to have more courage? I mean, I'm working on that now, particularly in the political environment we're in. I want to have courage to do the right thing and to bear whatever is going to happen. So developing courage. Do you want to have more awe in your life? That's a practice. I do this nurturing positivity practice. My visualization is the night sky. My phrase is awesome. And I've been doing it now for a while, and I did it this morning in my meditation, and I am in space with this ecstatic transcendence. It's taking me there. So what's happened in my daily life, I see more examples of awe, which brings a lot of joy. And normally I would just miss it. So that would be an example. The other thing you could do is, do you want to build more curiosity in your life? The more curious we are, the more we learn, and the more it opens up the world. So let's just take a few moments and think about what positive emotion or quality do you want to bring into your life to be happier, to be healthier. So think about it. And now maybe give it a word, a name. I suggest courage or love. It could be anything. So would anybody like to share? What have you picked? Yes?
Acceptance.
Acceptance. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Acceptance of aging, acceptance of the changes in life, the impermanence.
Great. Did you hear that in the back? Acceptance of aging, changes in life. Yeah, okay. How about others? What'd you pick? Yes,
I think courage.
courage.
I'm going through a lot of changes in my life right now, which are positive. But I'm also very aware of that I've become very comfortable in things that aren't even very good for me. And so I'm trying to work through those. And so it's using the courage to challenge that.
Great, excellent. Yeah, we need courage. Yes.
I'm between love and courage because sometimes I need love to understand people,
Yeah.
but also I need the courage to tell them or to act according to the stuff that they are doing that it makes me feel well or healthy.
Right, right.
So it's kind of like hard between love and
Yeah.
courage.
Well, and you could do one tonight, and then in your practice this week, do the other. Yeah. Yeah, there are many different qualities that we all need, so it usually is not just one. But, for tonight's practice, you might just pick one to start. Okay? How about others? What would you pick? Yes?
Contentment.
Contentment. Okay, great. Excellent. Yes?
Like awe or wonder, because I think
Awe.
I'm approaching life very habitually. I never do something that makes more fun
Yeah, awe. Talk about making ourselves happy. Yeah, terrific. How about others? Yes?
Kindness. It was kind of my New Year's resolution, and I realized I started out real good and kind of got away
I
from it.
know.
It's kind of dawned on me, I kind of,
Yeah, typical of New Year's resolutions, right? Well, and that's an important point because we have intentions to be better or different, and the intention's good, but if we don't follow it with a practice, it doesn't happen. It doesn't embody in our lives. Think about LeBron James or Kobe Bryant. They don't just say, I want to be a great basketball player. They really do train. And we do too. We need to do it. So great, kindness. Yes?
So you go ahead.
Focus. I'm going through a lot of changes in life that are going to require a lot of focus in life, and it's something I struggle with.
Great. Excellent. Yeah, in some ways, this whole training is training the attention, again, with concentration, being able to choose. So if we can't focus, then a lot of life goes right by. Absolutely. Yes?
I also chose acceptance, but it was funny, I was sort of inspired by the comment about hope for the best and expect the worst.
Yeah.
But for me, it's acceptance and equanimity in the sense that I've actually in my life learned I don't even know what is the best for me. I've had a lot of experiences in my life that in the moment I thought were suffering, and in hindsight were actually pathways to new things. So trying to not attach any value of better or worse, and just accept them as a thing, and then try to assess what the next right thing. Have the courage, as somebody said, to do the next right thing based on that. Is something that I would seek.
Great. And what you're really describing is that third skill. We talk about equanimity. It's really, again, we don't use the term acceptance because that kind of conveys that we should be chill with everything in the world, and that's not true. I mean, we might have equanimity inside in how we relate, so we can be accepting, but we've got to change things in the world. I mean, so it's what kind of acceptance that you want to have. But to be able to have that acceptance as equanimity means that even in the midst of great pain or difficulty, you can have a level of peacefulness that a lot of other people don't have. And you know, again, if life is short, which it is, you can make a choice, that's for sure.
How do you define equanimity?
Equanimity. So equanimity is that we're not fighting with our experience. We're not pushing away our sense experience, and we're not hanging on to it. And we can experience that in the practice we do. So, for example, last week I let us in see, hear, feel everything, if you remember. And all we were doing is wherever our attention landed, maybe we saw something, and we heard something. And you remember the planes, the helicopters went by? Now, in traditional meditation, that would be considered a distraction, right? And it might be really unpleasant. And you might find yourself kind of pushing against it, wanting to get away from it. That's the suffering. To be able to really just hear it, and it still doesn't mean it's pleasant, but you're not fighting with it. That's the equanimity. And that's a critical skill with being able to be in the world where things are not going to go. You know, there's that old saying, suffering is not getting what we want and getting what we don't want, right? Isn't that the way we often go through the world? So equanimity is that ability to just not fight with our experience. Maybe one more. Anybody else want to share what they picked as a positive experience? Yes?
I think perseverance.
Perseverance.
Yeah, and
Right.
I'm being sober almost 2 years, and just some days are rougher than others, and just do everything. I have 3 jobs, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I know what I want, and I'm starting to see the finish line. But some days I'm like, okay, I gotta get up and do it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that strength that comes from perseverance allows you to keep your life together. Absolutely. Anybody pick traffic? No. So, here's the point, that there's no one quality that we may need. We may need a number of qualities, and you can do this ongoing to develop more of these qualities as we go along. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do, is right now, before we start the meditation, pick an image that captures your quality. You've given it a name: perseverance, equanimity, acceptance, whatever it is. Pick an image that lights up in your brain that sort of captures it. An example is when I'm doing awe, I can literally now really pay with my eyes closed, especially picture the night sky like it is when I go camping. I can really see it. So pick an image that captures your quality, your positive quality. Does everybody have an image? Or you need help? And Robin?
Yeah, what would be an image for patience?
Patience. What's a good image for patience?
A mountain.
A mountain. That's actually mountain meditation is a traditional practice, right? Because a mountain just sits there, and it's like the Buddha outside in the garden. If you look at the Buddha in the garden or a mountain, light, dark, storm, rain, heat, the Buddha just sits there. That's equanimity. And the mountain sits there. So maybe patience and just visualize the mountain. Does everybody have an image? Now, the second thing we're going to do before we start the practice is that I'm going to ask you at some point to add a word or a phrase that connects you to the image. So, for example, with awe, I'm saying the word I'm hearing in my talk space is awesome. But it could be patience, it could be love, it could be any word that connects you to the image and the experience. So So think about that for a moment. Does everybody have a word? And you know, in the traditional Buddhist practice, which you've learned probably here, what we've always done, we call it metta, loving kindness. What do? We may picture a person, and then we say the traditional phrases. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with joy. There can be different phrases, but we use words with the image in order to cultivate the feeling. So that's what we're doing, but we're just expanding into all these different positive experiences. Okay? So we have an image and a word, and then the thing that as we practice you want to be looking for is to see if the experience arises. Okay? And if it doesn't, it's fine, because we can't make it happen, although you can foster it. Okay? So why not, rather than me just going on and on about it, let's go ahead and practice, and I'll guide us through it. And why don't we start with posture, because, you know, the body cues the mind, and when we're able to sit a bit upright, so lengthen your spine, and relax the shoulders, relax the jaw, relax any part of the body that's tense. And so we're making the body alert but relaxed. That's the ideal posture for mindfulness. And you can do this with your eyes open or closed, whatever's comfortable for you. Sometimes with nurturing positivity, closing the eyes can make it a little easier, but it's okay to keep them open. And now we'll start with see in, image space. Picture in your imagination that quality that you are cultivating, whether it be a mountain or a person. And just pay attention to that image showing up in your imagination. And when the attention drifts, which it will, just bring your attention, your focus back to the image, and deepen your experience of it. And in focusing on the image, we're developing our concentration skill. And notice details of the image. What does it look like? We're deepening our clarity. So hold the image in your imagination, and when it fades or you get distracted, just refresh it. And now let's add the word or phrase that you chose, and that shows up in talk space. You can hear yourself reciting that word that connects you to the image, and just repeat the word or phrase over and over again, gently. Again, when you get distracted, just come back to the word or phrase, and you may find yourself also noticing the image, sometimes at the same time. You can go back and forth. And so we're seeing in and we're hearing in. And now let's check in the body to notice if that experience, that positive quality, is showing up in your body. Can you feel it? And if not, it's okay. But if you've chosen love, you may start to feel more loving. You can feel it in your body. If you've chosen perseverance, you can start feeling what perseverance feels like in the body. This can take a little bit of guessing and groping to get used to, but just keeping focused on the image, the phrase, and the feeling in the body is creating or nurturing positivity. So allow your attention to cycle between these three areas of awareness: image, talk, and feeling. And I'll be quiet now, and let's do a good 5 minutes of just experiencing the positivity that you've chosen to nurture. Again, it's natural to get distracted by a sound or a thought. And when you notice that, just come back, refresh the image, hear the word or phrase, and check out in the body the feeling. And it's sometimes helpful to put that little smile on your face. That can light up positivity. You might try it. Let's do 3 more minutes. And if you're noticing in your body a positive quality, you might notice the details. Where is it in your body? Is it in your belly? Is it in your chest? Does it have a shape? You might find positivity has a shape, and then it begins to spread through the whole body. It becomes expansive, or maybe not. Is it flowing? Is it stable? Notice the details. We can end the meditation by letting go of the image, letting go of the word or phrase, and being aware of any feeling of positivity that you've generated. And then ending with maybe a few deep breaths. And if the eyes are closed, opening the eyes and coming back into the room, which we've never left. We're still here. Okay, well, I'm interested in what happened, what you experienced. Who would like to share? Yes, Robin.
So the quality that I chose was loving, and the image was of a new mother holding her infant in her arms and looking down with that expression. And then the word that I initially chose was loving kindness. But the more I practiced it, suddenly the word nurturing came in. So just exploring the connection between loving and nurturing. Because I hadn't intended it to be nurturing, but it came.
Yes.
And the feeling was right here, right around the heart center, and it did spread, and it was a warmth.
A warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really important, because sometimes we pick a positive emotion. The image can change, or the word can change, and that's okay. That's great. You kind of, it's self-inquiry. In a way, you deepen your awareness. So that's great. Excellent. How about others? Oh, yes.
So my word was contentment, and then I chose an image. I remember myself in high school looking up at the sky, taking a big deep breath, and then I added to that yawning. So that was.
And did you feel the contentment?
Yeah, I felt, well, I think it was more subtle relaxation in my head. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Because when you think about when we're content as a positive experience, it's a deep relaxation with what is, right? And that's why this practice is so important, because there were distractions. Is there anybody here who didn't experience a distraction? I did, okay. You know, that's part of the equanimity, is just accepting that our minds wander. There's good reason. Does anybody remember what the reason is? One reason? Why do our minds wander?
Trying to predict the future.
Yeah, we now know that the brain is a prediction machine. It really is. It's a predictor. And the theory is that we're predicting the future so we don't get eaten by the beasts. You know, my joke is that when our ancestors were in the jungle, it was the ancestor who was so chill that when the leaves rattled, they didn't do anything. They got eaten. It was the ancestor who was alarmed. I'll get eaten. They ran. They're in our gene pool. So our minds, in a way, moved away from contentment naturally. And we have to work on being content. Yeah. So what you want to look for is the image may change, even the word, but you want to look for what does it mean to you to be content, and how does that fit as a positive in your life? It's not apathy, it's not lack of action, it's something deeper. Absolutely. How about others? Yes.
So my word is equanimity.
Equanimity is your word.
And I was literally looking at the Buddha and Guanyin Bodhisattva behind you. And it's about the middle way, and it just suddenly I was like, okay, I'll use that image.
Yeah.
And so I kind of held with it, and I definitely, my word to connect, and I was like, at first, like, what do you mean, word to connect? But because I'm very generally more analytical than like feeling type. So the word hope came on, and I'm like, okay, I'll play with this. So it was nice. It was kind of nice, just kind of bouncing between that, kind of just finding, knowing that there's hope, like where we might be one extreme or the other,
right?
But that there is hope to come to the middle, and there is hope, society, hopefully, and all that. And it's funny, when the meditation stopped, there was a grasp, like I almost craved to hold on to it. And that was it made me giggle. And I was like, oh.
Yes.
I've always had this within me, but yet I was like, no, I want to keep being equanimable. Yeah.
I don't want to let go of that. Everybody hear that? Equanimity was her positive emotion, and hope was her word. Looking at the Bodhisattva, that image can create it. And that's really important because that's such a positive experience. But what happens when you try to hang on to positive experiences? Attachment. But what happens? You can't. It usually turns into something else, right? Try to hang on to, actively hanging on. That's different than cultivating or nurturing, right? It's like telling somebody to stop thinking about something. You can't. The more you try, the more you lack that equanimity. How about someone else? Anybody else want to share? Yes, Steve?
Mine was courage. And I thought that I would start with the world, taking on the world. And where I ended up was in a field of wheat with a rolling hill and the sun in front of me. And I could actually hear the rustling of the wheat swaying in the wind, and I could feel the sun. And the word that came to me was joy.
Yeah. And yet you had identified courage as your positive.
Yes.
So that's really important, because sometimes we can plan for this practice, but then if we open up to our experience, maybe something more important for us bubbles up, and then you can just practice with it. Absolutely. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time, and I would love to hear what happened for you all. But the question is, what do you do with this? Well, in your daily, and I would urge you to do a daily or often sitting practice. You can do this. You can do it in 5 minutes, any time of the day. And again, just that picture of Kobe Bryant sitting on the side of the basketball court, practicing to become one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And we know from the science that you and I can do this with these qualities to change our lives. So, it's very simple practice. If you had difficulty, if your mind was drifting a lot, or it didn't seem to work, that's normal. The more you practice, the more you can drop right in. I was doing awe, and I'm telling you that I was in space, right here, and totally relaxed. It can come in just moments now because I've been practicing. So what I would urge you to do, give it a try. This is nurturing positivity or whatever you need in your life to make a whole, well life. So we'll begin again July 24th, Wednesday the 24th. And what I want to build on is what we did tonight, but do a deeper dive in what is traditionally the Brahma Viharas. And what I'm going to do the first week is we're going to focus on love. Really how deepening we can become a better loving person. Then compassion, which is really, their whole, I used to teach 8-week courses just on compassion. But we're going to pack it into one night. And then I'm going to pick gratitude as a third week. And the last week, put it all together. So if you can come back July 24th, please do. Okay? And I want to thank you so much for your good attention and your attendance here in these last 5 weeks. I really appreciate it. Okay? Take care. Oh, and that's right. Steve's got